We are in Parak Chov, Nefesh Hachaim. What we learned on Thursday, as an introduction to this, was the Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva. The Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva tells us, the word I used last week, which probably offended people, was a little bit annoyingly. The Rambam starts talking about Hilchos Tshuva, and before he talks about Hilchos Tshuva, which was Pardes Project, Mahi HaTshuva, how do you do Tshuva? You have Charat al Avar and Kabbalah al Asik. He says that the Iker Mitzvah Tshuva is Vidui. So you should see, it says in the Torah, Vizvada al Kol Chatos. You should do Vidui. That means when the Kohen brings the korban or the Serah Mishtaleach in Yom Kippur, he says Vidui for Klal Yisrael, and that Vidui is the Tshuva. You would think the Vidui is like a, sort of an add-on onto Tshuva or halacha that you do after you do Tshuva, because the Rambam says afterwards, Ma'il is Tshuva, but it comes out exactly the opposite, that the Iker Tshuva, the Rambam says, is Vidui. Atasi, Avisi, Pajati. And you have to be Mefaret, the Chet, and not just Chatasi, Avisi, Pajati. You have to be Mefaret, the Chet that you did, and like be Myrich in it a little bit. And certainly you have to understand what you're saying. It doesn't help to do anything. But you have to do vidui. So the question that the Nefesh Hachaim is answering without bringing the Rambam is, why is the Iker Tshuva vidui? That seems to be maybe a halach in Hilchos Tshuva. And it's even more difficult to understand because the Tshuva itself, what we call Tshuva, is just really a hechatimsa to be able to do Tshuva, which is vidui. It's not even, what we call Tshuva is not even Tshuva. So for instance, an example that I gave in a sociological example is that a lot of people call themselves Balei Tshuva, which is good, Balei Tshuva. But they're not Balei Tshuva unless they actually said Vidui on the Chatoim that they did. The Im Tim Saloimar, that you don't have to do that because it was a Tinnik Shenishma, then you shouldn't call yourself a Bal Tshuva, not a Bal Tshuva. About Tshuva means somebody did Tshuva, and Tshuva means that you said Vidui. So I personally recommend and think it's a very important halacha that anybody who's a Baal Tshuva, including if you're born Orthodox, but if you're a Baal Tshuva, you have to make sure that you're Mefaret the Chet. You're Mefaret, this, I did this and this wrong. I used to steal, I used to kill people, etc. Whatever you were into. But that's the video. People are coming in carrying a lot of baggage, and it's hard. Doing tshuva itself is a process, maybe like a 12-step process, So maybe there's 12 steps at Rabbi Yoda, but all of it doesn't come to. The lights don't go on until you say vidui. So now the Nefesh Hachaim is explaining why that would be, and I just want to be married. We read the Nefesh Hachaim quickly. I want to read it a little bit more carefully. Uveyer pratus seder tikunam. Follow with me, Parashas, please. Uveyer pratus seder tikunam vis kashrusam al yedei hatshuva. We need to understand. We need to explain what the tikkun and the hiskashrus is of tshuva. So now Nefesh Hachaim introduces a new idea in tshuva. You thought it just meant to return. No, it means hiskashrus, to connect. Connecting is different than returning. Who's connecting to what? What's connecting to where? And here's the anatomy of tshuva. Shekasher pagam ha'adam b'chinas nafshay. If a person is pogam, his nefesh. Oh, afim garam chas v'shalom shenifsaku, or worse, pogam, your nefesh means you created some kind of a blemish on your nefesh. I'm going to explain, but a blemish, spoke Lashon Hara. There's a blemish on my nefesh. Something's not good. Shows up. Spot. But even worse, im garam chas v'shalom shenifsaku v'nichrasu kol hadet tesvir yisel michachmo lamata mihis kashrusa. That's talking about kares. Person does such a big aveira, such a terrible thing, that you've almost disconnected the nefesh from the ruach. A person walking around who disconnected the nefesh and ruach is a nefesh without a ruach and a neshama. So we explained, I was actually looking for the whiteboard apparatus again. That would be good. Maybe Chaim, maybe just draw this up for us, and then we'll have.
So again, because there's a number of different elements that have to work out together. First of all, basic. We spoke about it last week. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama last week. We've been speaking about it for months. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. Nefesh is the world, what we see, what the doctor sees. That's Nefesh. Ruach, the symptom of Ruach is the ability to talk and the ability to be intelligent. But Ruach is a higher thing, and the Ruach, as we learned, connects one's Nefesh to the Neshama. Kares means, so you have Neshama, Ruach, Nefesh. Kares means you just made a mechitza shachoimus habarzel. You just made a hefsek between the Nefesh, the Ruach, and Neshama. Very bad. The only reason why this Nefesh can end up being come betchias hamesim is because it's connected to the Ruach. It says in the Navi, Baruch is going to come and he's going to be mechayed the mesim, the Ruach. If there's no Nefesh connected to the end of the Ruach, so then that wind kiviyachol is going nowhere. It's not going into any Nefesh. No connection. It's not connected. It's like this. It's not connected. So nichrasu, that's what kares is. One of the good news about kares is that it's not a complete disconnection. There's never a complete disconnection, apparently. Everybody can do tshuva. Menashe do tshuva. Everybody can do tshuva. Can do tshuva on kares? Yes, you could do tshuva on kares. Why? Because the technology of it is that you have nefesh connected to the ruach. That's where we're concentrating right now. And it's connected, like every connection, with spheros. Think of it as an electrical wire that has strands, 10 strands. So, Keser, Chachma, Bina, Chesed, Vura, Tiferes, Netzach, Chod, Yesod, Malchus, 10 strands. When your kares means you're mamish like knocking out. That's the way I'm connected. Meaning, my nefesh unto itself doesn't have tiferes, it doesn't have chesed. It only has these things because I'm connected to my neshama through my ruach. There could be elements of chesed in a dog also. It's not chesed as we understand chesed. It's some kind of a tchuna. The Gemara says we can learn out different things from different animals, but it's not chesed is coming from the neshama. So chesed, it's just a tchuna. So when a person does something chas v'shalom that's chayiv kares, you've knocked out all of those wires, short circuit, hefsek, except for miraculously one strand. The one strand called chachma, which we'll get to in a minute. The one strand called chachma, which is the highest level or the most esoteric level, doesn't get knocked out. So if a person's chayiv kares, you're pretty malnourished spiritually. You're not connected to your neshama, but you're hanging on by a strand. You're hanging on by one strand. The difference between that strand and the copper wire in my mushel is that it's organic. It can grow back. It can become, the one can become two, the two can be five, you can reconnect again, as long as you're somehow connected. So lo yidach mimenu nidach means that we don't disconnect completely. There's a question about this with Avodah Zarah. A question in the Svarim, because Avodah Zarah, a person really gives himself over to Avodah Zarah, but we see Menashe was over to Avodah Zarah. So we see he did tshuva. Nobody could understand his tshuva. Even Malachim couldn't understand Menashe Melch's tshuva. He was a killer. He was an over Avodah Zarah. He legislated Avodah Zarah. Terrible person. But somehow he did tshuva. So you see that even on Avodah Zarah, you can do tshuva. There's a place in tshuva hard to do tshuva, but you can do tshuva. So what happened? Afim Goram Chas v'Shalom Shenifseku v'Nichrasu Kol HaTes Sfiros doesn't say not 10, but he cuts off 9 of the 10. Michachma ulamata, the sphere of chachma, right? The sphere of chachma. You're familiar with the Balatanya, where he talks about chachma, bina, das. That's not the derech of most mekubalim. Most mekubalim is keser, chachma, bina, the das. It's not that there's no das, we have das, but it's that's not one of the spheres. He has a different way of counting the Balatanya. Not to be confused, because most of us somewhere, particularly Bali Tshuva, learn Tanya at some point, and it's confusing because that's not the derech of all the mekubalim. It's really 2 words for the same thing, but that's not our subject here. So chachma is the top, according to this. Chachma ulamata mihis kashrus is mashma like the Balatanya, right? Chachma ulamata means kashrus. So you knocked off everything except for chachma. V'teired ployim, and you are in a downward spiral. Li'imke mitzulos haklipos. How am I living now if I'm not attached to my ruach? If I'm not attached to my neshama, how am I living? And the answer is, I'm living from a klipa. We have to explain that too. They're the same way that the plants are living. That's how I'm living. But even worse, because plants are not living from tumah. We're living from tumah. There's a koach tumah. Meaning, I explained last week, and I just want to say it one more time, that in Shamayim, there's ki'ilu 2 generators. There's the generator, now I'm going back to my wires. There's the generator of life, of kedusha, the way life is supposed to work, the way humans are supposed to work, people are supposed to work. But then there's another generator called sitra achra, and that could also give life. We don't want that life. That life is polluted. That life is full of war. It's full of hell. That's what that life is. It's from the dark side, that life. And what happens is, as I explained, that even in the middle of a sentence, when we're talking Divrei Torah, you're getting all of the koach that we're getting from the koach of kedusha, and chachmos adam toyer panav. I'm shining because of that. And then if I decide to stick in one sentence of lashon hara, so what happens is the plug comes out of here and goes into there, and all of a sudden I'm being generated. By the power in me is being generated by a koach of tumah, and it's terrible ramifications as to what the person is. You can't connect with that person. It's very difficult to connect with a person who's being energized by tumah. Go try talking to the way. You have to find somewhere. So that's why, by the way, a lot of times the hook of kiruv is in the world of chachma. Possible, because as a person is so far off, the chachma doesn't disconnect. So sometimes, like that's not tshuva, but sometimes you can intellectually discuss something with somebody because that's the only thing that's left. Chachma somehow is also connected to the higher places. But tered ploim, but where's the rest of me being energized from? Tered ploim lim came at sules haklipos chasushalom. So now, what happens is when I say vidui, be'emes, earnestly, mi'umka deliba, a lot of conditions here. Be'emes, or mi'umka deliba, ba'akima sifasav, and dafka, if I am moving my lips, I'm actually saying something. Bechinas, which is nefesh deruach. Let's be medayik over here. Means to say that there's two parts of talking. One part of talking is moving my lips. Another part of my talking is dibur, when the wind energizes it and it actually comes out as words. Person who kimat has no koach, so they move their lips, but no words come out. So akimas losayim is the beginning. That's why Chana and Tefillah, she was moving her lips, but there was no call. That was like Tefillah seems to be. We learned from there akimas vasayim. But we know that the halach is there has to be dibur also, and you have to at least hear it to your ears.
So that's the definition of Devarim and Akimas Vaso.
Two things. Yeah. Ma'oirer b'kol Devarim shalai ad la'elo la'ela. So Akimas Vasayim starts the koach of dibur. So here's what happens, and that goes la'elo la'ela. Now, so let me just put this picture in front of you clearly. You have our bodies, our lives, which includes our brains and our hearts, in other words, the life force of a person. That's all nefesh. Nefesh ki yechta, nefesh ki yichras. It's a nefesh. It's also the world, if I had a chart, I would say that the nefesh is parallel to the world of Maisa. Remember we learned machshava, dibur, Maisa. Nefesh is Maisa. The nefesh is the most down-to-earth part of what we are existentially, and when I actually do a Maisa, I'm doing something with my nefesh. This is very important because then I'm taking everything that's up there in that whole system and I'm bringing it down to earth. That's the nefesh. So the nefesh is the part of us that does the Maisa. The neshama, on the other hand, is the energizing factor which is giving us koach of kedusha to do that ma'isa. What's the ruach? The ruach is that which joins the neshama and the nefesh. So the ruach, most famously, does a lot of things, but most famously, it is in charge of dibur, right? The Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chaim. The Targum says, let's get technical here. It's not the pshat that he really blew the neshama into a person. The neshama is still here, but he blew the ruach, and therefore it was memalala, and therefore there was dibur. So the fact that we can talk is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu blew the neshama through the ruach, and out came dibur. So now, where is dibur on the scale of nefesh, ruach, neshama? So let's think machshava, dibur, maisa. Nefesh Hachaim made this parallel. Nefesh is dibur, but you gave up already? Oh.
Small, but,
but I'm just starting.
helpful.
I'm just getting started. Okay, so very good. Machshava, dibur, maisa parallels, machshava parallels neshama, and dibur parallels ruach. And maisa, the things that we do, good maisa, bad maisa, that's the world of nefesh. Let me just do a maisa. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. So this act of making a bracha and drinking water is taking the neshama, taking the neshama, coming through the ruach, make a bracha, and then you drink the water, nefesh. That's the maisa. Nefesh, ruach, neshama, and what that was machshava. I'm thanking Hashem b'machshava. Dibur, I said a bracha. Maisa, I said the bracha, and I made it, and I drank the. But where's dibur in all of this? Let's leave the olam sefer out for 1 minute. Where's dibur in all of this? It's in ruach, right? Ruach memalala. So the answer, so what we understand is that it's not exactly correct, because dibur, says the Ari, hold with me here for a minute, bear with me in this. Dibur is not the whole ruach. It's the lowest part of ruach, and it's the makam of hiskashers between the nefesh and the ruach. Meaning, dibur is not technically like right here, so parallel. Dibur is actually that which is the highest part of nefesh and the lowest part of ruach. That's what dibur is.
It has to be, because there's a physical component to the voice.
So it's certainly part of nefesh. But why does it have to be part of ruach?
That's what we just learned.
Yeah, but in other words, that it actually distinguishes us from the rest of the bria. So the fact that we're able to talk articulately, not like a parrot. A parrot could talk. It's interesting. I wonder if that's like holier than every other animal, but it's not really. I don't know. But the fact that we're able to talk intelligibly, articulate, communicate, is from the ruach, but obviously, as you say, it's using the nefesh. So now, what that means in Kabbalistic language, but it's really very simple, is dibur is actually right there on the cusp. It's right there on the line between nefesh and ruach. Important. And let's call it the transformer. Let's call it the connector. The connector between nefesh and ruach. So now we understand something. What we understand here is that if I did something terrible, I want to do tshuva. So I have charata al ha'avar. Where is that? Machshava. Nice. I have kabbalah al ha'asid. Where is that? Machshava. I'm machlit believing that I'm never going to do that thing again. Machshava. I say that I'm never going to do it again. Whoa, now you've just descended into the world from the world of Ruach. And not only have you just used the world of Ruach, but you've connected the world of Ruach to the world of Maisa. So Vidui which we now learn is not just self-improvement or self-help, but vidui, but tshuva, which is much more than that. It's actually getting back connected, reconnecting to my correct source. That's what tshuva is. Even if a person chas v'sholom is chayiv kares, and he's so disconnected, I can reconnect through the koach of dibur. The condition is that, as he says, it has to be connected. So if it's connected, machshava, dibur, and maisa, Bob's your uncle. You're back in shape. You're realigned. So this is a beautiful, as I said on Thursday, a chiropractic adjustment of the soul.
We can take the dibur one that on the line point, and we can take it even one step to full Maisa with the Kohen Gadol and Yom Kippur.
Video, very good. You're right on.
And a Kohen, any Kohen doing
Has to, or any Kohen even duchening.
with Yadayim, I'm saying in the Pas of Tshuva.
Samachas Yadav.
You're just Yadayim.
Right.
Maisa.
I believe, I couldn't find it inside, but I believe that the Yisoid V'Sherish HaAvodah, it's a wonderful sefer written by Rav Alexander Ziskin. My son is named after Alexander Ziskin. So he writes that the reason why we're clapping when we're saying Vidui is to do a Maisa like the Kohen does a Maisa. You know, instead of going like this, we're going like this. There's a Kabbalah to that also. Why dafka the lave? Why the lave? Was the lave choter? But I want to show you something just while we're here. The Gemara says, interesting thought. Gemara says in Bab Metzia, Tzadik Omen Beis. Tzadik Omen Beis, unlikely to be quoted in Nefesh Hachaim. This is how much halachic Gemara. No, I got it to here. And the Gemara talks about the Isser of Chasima. Chasima loisach soim shor b'dishay. You're not allowed to prevent a shor from eating as he's doing as he's plowing. So the shor, the ox, is moving along, carrying this heavy plow behind him, and he wants to eat something, but he's killing my margin by doing that. So put a muzzle on him, and that way I get the work without having the expense. Says the Torah, loisach soim shor b'dishay. That's a lav sheyesh by malchus. It has malchus. You put a muzzle on a shor while he's doing disha. You're chayiv malchus. So says the Torah. That's the Chumash says. Says the Gemara. Mitzia Tzadik Omen Beis. Itmar, learned like this. Chasma bekol, being higo bekol. Chasma bekol. Let's say your ox is so trained. An animal can be trained. Shayo commented that animals are easier to train than people. Your day is short, Karnei. But the ox is well trained. And the ox, you don't put any muzzle, chas v'sholom, from Jew. But what you do is you yell at the ox. The ox starts to bend down to eat from the produce. They go, hey, stop eating. And the ox stops eating. So is that the lav of chasima or is not a lav of chasima? So the technical part of that is it a lav sheyesh by maisa that you're chayiv makas on or not? Are you chayiv makas for doing that? So the Gemara says, Chasma b'kol, v'inhiga b'kol. What's inhiga b'kol? Different case. Let's say you're not allowed to take a shor v'chamor yachad to plow your field. That's kloyim, kloy behemoth. You're not allowed to do kloy. So, but that's only talking about if you're whipping or you're leading the shor v'chamor yachad in the field. If they're going themselves, obviously, they don't do anything. What if we say, giddy up, and you don't hit anybody, and they start to walk? Is that a lav sheyesh by maisa? Is that a lav she'ein by maisa? Shiloh in the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan Amar Chayiv, Reish Lakish Amar Potter. Machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish.
Shicha be the same thing?
Shicha.
That's called the Maisa.
Shicha of what?
An animal. And the kid to make a kinyan. It's the same
Yeah.
thing, you know?
Yeah. But it's not. We're talking about whether you're chayiv makus or not. So makus has to do with the nefesh kisechta. You can only get makus. You never get makus. So a lav sheyesh koi baisa like it a lav. You never get makus for a machshava ra, even if it's a terrible machshava ra. Even if you don't get makus for that. It has to be a lav sheyesh koi maisa. Why? Because makos is a punishment to the nefesh. So it means to say the nefesh kisechta. The nefesh did a chet. So now the machlekes, the Gemara says between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish is dibur screaming at my animal, is that called a maisa or is it not called a maisa? So Rabbi Yochanan Amar Chayiv, Reish Lakish Amar Potter. Incidentally, I'm just teasing you with this. I believe this machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish is l'shitas b'chol hashas kula. Whether dibur is called a maisa or not. The machlekes is also machlekes the other way. Here or kedibur. One step further on. Interesting. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Chayav, says the Gemara, Akimas piv have a maisa. Akimas piv have a maisa. Reish Lakish Amar Potter, Kollel have a maisa. It's interesting how they change the lashon. Rabbi Yochanan says, Akimas piv have a maisa. What does he mean? And Reish Lakish answers them, but he doesn't say Akimas piv. Akimas piv is just like lipping it.
He says Akimas Vasa.
Okay, reading the Gemara. Akimas piv have a maisa. Reish Lakish should say Potter. Why? Because Akimas piv loy have a maisa. Says the Reish Lakish over Potter, Kollel loy have a maisa. Imagine. They're arguing about apples and oranges here. The Teretz is that he wants to learn, Rabbi Yochanan wants to learn that apparently, Pashat of Shat, is that in every dibur, even if the dibur is not a maisa per se, but the akimas peh is a maisa. And Reish Lakish says, what do you drink? Akimas peh is just a technical part of getting the word out. If you were a ventriloquist, you could talk without akimas peh. So kola is what we're talking about, and kola loy have a maisa. Okay, it's an interesting thing. It's hard to, at this moment, just make it exactly, but let me just say this, that the Pashut of Machlekes, whether, besides the diuk and the lashon, the Pashut of Machlekes to Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish is if dibur is a maisa, if dibur is not a maisa. Meaning, is dibur part of the nefesh, which would be mechayiv a person makos, or is dibur still gehared to the ruach, which has no din maisa to it? Why? Because it has no din nefesh. In order to get makos, you have to have a nefesh kisechta. So you have here a clear machlekes. The Gemara brings many examples of this. Amira la'akum shvus. If you're doing malach on Shabbos, al yidei amira, talking to a microphone, or a what's it called, the Amazon thing? Alexa.
Siri?
Alexa. So malach on Shabbos, or is it not malach on Shabbos? So the first thing you have to know about this is the chayra. It's not a maisa. I'm not the aleph base of doing a malach on Shabbos. The deraisa is you have to have a maisa. So if I'm just talking with my lips, if I'm just exerting a cult, not a maisa. Why is this a question? Why is it a question? Because a maisa is such an esoteric question. Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish are discussing, and the answer is it's very simple, because in the chart of nefesh, ruach, neshama, the dibur, or the koil, or the akimas fasayim, is right there on the border. And being it's right there on the border between my nefesh and my ruach, it's a manifestation of the ruach. So is it called the Misa? Is it not called the Misa? You always have a machlekes can't be like they weren't arguing minakotz alakotz. They both agreed on the Metzias. The Metzias being that the dibur is a little bit connected to the ruach and it's a little bit connected to the nefesh. The only machlekes is what kind of din does that have? Does it have a din of nefesh? Does it have a din of ruach? So that's where we're holding so far.
What would everyone agree is ruach? Between dibur and machshava. What is it?
Breathing. In the positive Shaar. Ruach, when we get to the Olamis in a minute, I'm going to do that. How many things go into the world of Ruach?
Is Ruach Mamalal going according to both of those sheets?
Yeah. It's like, think about this language over here. Vayibach ba'apav nishmas chaim v'have l'ruach memalal. So it's two things, right? Ruach, meaning, look at this ruach. This ruach can talk. Could be malachim have ruach, but they can't talk. So the look at this ruach that comes so close to the earth that it could actually start talking. It's important to understand that when the Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world, he created the world b'dibur. Didn't have to talk. Asara ma'amoros nivra ha'olam vayomer 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 vayomer. 10 times. He didn't have to talk. Why can't he just Kadosh Baruch Hu omer v'oiser? Why did he have to talk? Why couldn't he just Hashem? It's Hashem. Let's think it. The fact that Hashem talked is even a bigger nest than the fact that He created the world. I mean, what does Hashem talk? Like, what's the? But the answer is that what was going on, what we need to understand in the mechanics of Brias Ha'olam, is that something from the world of Atzilus was coming down through the world of Bria and coming down through the world of Yetzirah, and this kav was being Yoreh all the way to the world of Asiyah. And if it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kivyachol creating the world b'machshava, so then it never reaches the place of Ruach. And if it never places the world of Ruach, and Dibur is on the cusp, on the cutting edge of Ruach and Nefesh, so the idea of HaKadosh Baruch Hu creating the world, the Svarim tell us, is to bring His Shechina into this world. So to bring His Shechina into this world, it has to be b'dibur. B'asar ma'amoros nivra ha'olam. Yeah, clear? Sheet. It has to be b'dibur. It's the same thing, like the sefer HaYetzirah tells us at the beginning, that the world was nivra alpha beta. The world was created with the aleph base. We need the aleph base here. So everybody likes to make pictures of alephs and bases flying down from the Shemayim. But the shot is that aleph base gimel daled hey is the beginning of, it's the last place of machshava and the first place of articulation. You teach a child aleph base. You know an aleph, you know base. You know, there's a new shita in reading Hebrew where you don't bother teaching the child aleph base, you just teach them how to read. Like, you don't need to know really, like, what's an aleph, what's this, what's that, that's a gimel. You don't have to really know that's a gimel, you just have to know it's a gid, did, and together it's God. Like, there's a new shita in reading, can I get a Torah?
That's what geniuses teach themselves to read also. That's what geniuses teach themselves to read also.
No, I taught probably 500 adults how to read Hebrew over the years. And the system is skip the information of aleph base gimel daled. I never teach them aleph base. It doesn't make any difference. It's called aleph base. It's just wasting room in your brain. So just, what does it sound like? You don't have to know A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You don't have to know it. Just do it. But this is not what's going on in Shemayim, because what's going on in Shemayim is that the original articulation
of the Brias Olam is through an Aleph and through a Beis and the Kedusha of the Aleph, which is made up of a Vav and 2 Yuds, etc. Shem Havaya. The Oisius themselves are the Haschala. So Rav Kook's first words in the Iris is Kola Olam Kulei Malay Oisios. It's a beautiful language. Kola Olam Kulei Malay Oisios. The very first paragraph of Iris HaKodesh is Kola Olam Kulei Malay Oisios. Means the world is full of pieces. And these pieces can be put together in so many different ways. Scrabble. It can be put together in so many different ways, and the world could look so different according to what we do in the world of Nefesh. So the Nakuda here is that Dibur is just where Ruach meets Nefesh. And that's that recalibration, that re-hooking, realignment between my Nefesh and my Ruach must be B'Dibur. Hence, tshuva needs the ikar of tshuva is vidui. Ikar of tshuva is vidui. Is it a maisa? It's the beginning of a maisa. It's the beginning of the world of nefesh and the end of the world of ruach. It's the connecting place. Machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. What kind of a din does it have? But in terms of tshuva, the din is that's how I'm reconnecting. V'goyreim, says the Nefesh Hachaim, and by realigning, am goyreim she'yisatzel toisefes kedusha mimenu yisbarach shemai, am goyreim she'yisatzel, yisatzel is the word atzilus. Yisatzel, v'yatzel min haruach, says in the Chumash. Right, Moshe Rabbeinu gathered 70 zakenim, v'yatzel min haruach asher olav alaz. There was an atzilus, a glow which went from Moshe, an energy which went from Moshe, and he was matzil the other Ziknei Yisrael. He brought this down into them. So what happens over here is by realigning, the moment I say vidui properly, this is what's so gewaldic about doing tshuva, that it should be able, a sensitive person doing tshuva should be able to feel that difference. Should be able to feel it. That I'm saying vidui properly, and maybe if you don't feel it means we didn't say vidui properly. So if I'm saying vidui properly, goyrem sheyisatzel. Whoa! All of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. You're like a sonogram of a heart, ultrasound of a heart pumping. Everything starts to flow, and everything is gewaldig, and I'm a whole different brewer. This is going now, I just want to explain one more thing here. This is, before we close for today, this is going from the world of Bria to the world of Yitzir and Asiyah. Leiv Tahar, Brali Elikim. Bria. V'ruach Nachaim Chadesh B'kirbi. Ruach Nachaim, David Amelech's beautiful words. That the neshama, which is probably what he means when he says leiv there, is tahar. That's in the world of Bria. From the world of Bria, the neshama has to give its energy through the world of leiv tahar, brali elikim. V'ruach nachaim chadesh b'kirbi. Nefesh, ruach, neshama. So, unbelievable. So we understand, let me end by saying 3 things that we can understand here, besides for the main thing. 3 side things. Number 1 is, what's Ruach HaKodesh? Ruach HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh is when a person, and the Gemara says that even though there's no more Nevuah, we still have Ruach HaKodesh. We have Ruach HaKodesh, ability to have Ruach HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh is when I'm able to access from the world above me and get that much closer to the neshama, and that's what I'm talking about right now. That's Ruach HaKodesh. It's not just a strong intuition or a holy intuition. It's coming from the world of Ruach, out into the world of Dibur. Ruach Kadshecha Al Tikach Mimeni. Ruach Kadshecha Al Tikach Mimeni. Number 1. But on the other hand, this is much more fascinating. Ein Adam Chayte, person does a chet, Elohim Kei Nechnas Boi, Ruach. Shtus. How does shtus get in the pipe? how does shtus get into my holy pipe? It's a good question. Nichnas boy, that's me, ruach shtus. Shtus is the guy in Sefer Tzniusa. The shtus is when I corrupt the dibur gufa. Meaning, it's already good. The ruach is good. It's coming into my nefesh, and I can, with my brain, I can so far krum it up, and that's what shtus is. Like lashon of sata, I pushed it to the side. So I could take the ruach itself, apparently, and I could create a ruach shtus. That's a chet. Understand the chet. A chet is not because your nefesh is not connected to your ruach, and a chet is because that would. How do you do the chet l'chatchila? Everybody asks, if Adam Arishan didn't have a Yetzer Hara, how do you do the chet? How can you do a chet? First you do a chet, I understand, you cut yourself off, so now I'm doing chatoim. Okay, I'm nefesh without ruach. But how do you do the first chet? The answer is you could farkrum, you could be ma'akem. Remember this, akimas, you could be ma'akem, the ruach, into a ruach shtus. That's a dangerous thing because that ruach shtus, it feels like it's ruach. It can feel very holy. Really, you're saying shtus. Shtus is different than making a mistake. Shtus is a good word. Shtuyot. Shtuyot, stiot, dissonance. Refers to a dissonance, cognitive dissonance. I'm taking something which is good and I'm for krumming it up to match my nefesh so it feels better coming into my nefesh. I want the ruach that I'm getting, let's call it the conscious for a moment. I want the ruach that I'm getting to feel, I want that flow to feel good coming into me. And it does not feel good if it's musar, if it's something which is incompatible with what I'm doing right now. Don't like it. So what do? Shtus. So that first coming in is a difficult thing. And the third thing that I just want to leave you with is that the Gemara says in Yoma, Gedoyla tshuva shemagas ad kisei hakavod. Tshuva is magas ad kisei hakavod. Where's the kisei hakavod? What's the importance of the kisei hakavod? Kisei hakavod is the olam of neshamas. When Menashe did tshuva, it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself chotar chatira tachas kisei hakavod. He made a hole under the kisei hakavod to let his tshuva come in, meaning to connect his one little strand there back to the world of neshama. So the kisei hakavod is the olam of neshamas, and the kisei hakavod is in the world of bria. Leivtar bara li elokim, the world of bria. Gedoy l'tshuva, when one connects through tshuva, gedoy l'tshuva shem magas ad kisei hakavod. It can go all the way to the world of bria. So what we're talking about here, tshuva, well, it's such a whole different idea. I mean, of course, the self-improvement has to be the prerequisite to the whole thing. But we're talking about, this is like when we talk about this gematria, not the gematria, the Rashi Tevis, everybody talks about adi l'doidi, v'doidi li, yafem hod. But what it means to say is it's a reconnection. Adi l'doidi, v'doidi li. We're able to connect. And when you're able to connect, we're thinking more clearly. And the cognitive dissonance dissipates. And I'm able to make glata cheshboinus instead of trying to do things and making things work in my mind, all kinds of acrobatics to make it work. So I'm fitting a square peg into a round hole. That's what's happening over there. So we do tshuva. And tshuva says, this is a little bit difficult, but I'm going to try to line this up. It might hurt. I'm going to try to line this up. I'm going to condition myself where I'm able to accept the ruach mimalallah. I'm able to accept it and say it b'vidui, and I've done tshuva. And here's the final point. Toisefes kedusha mimenu yisbarach shmai. That person who does tshuva doesn't just reconnect like the tzaddik. Toisefes kedusha, somehow or another, it's like fresh blood. You know what happens is, like, there's a new ruach chadash. A ruach chadash comes in, meaning that this is one of the reasons why that about tshuva stands higher than a tzaddik. because the tzaddik is working with the old system, and somehow or another, the haftacha by tshuva is that ruach chadash, ruach nachon chadesh b'kirbi. I have a chadash, and the chadash is something so fresh. I was once talking to yoga people love to have you do inversions. I don't know, mach patlan that you're standing right side up. You're supposed to be right side up, right? But they're always standing on your head. And the reason for standing on your head is that was explained to me because when you go back on your feet, this is a whole new circulation of blood coming that would have never happened before. So there's the ruach nachon chadesh b'kirbi as a mashal. So the Baal Tshuva stands in a place with freshness, and that's why Baal Tshuva is so fresh. So it's so beautiful about Tshuva. Baal Tshuva is able to do things that tzaddikim gemurim are not able to do. It's not just he's standing higher in Shemayim, able to take on things and Yonim and places of your Shemayim. Baal Tshuva is able to have a hasaga that regular tzaddikim can't have. It's a whole new idea. Why? Because it's fresh. And it's not fresh like a little child who doesn't have a developed brain. It's fresh like a mature adult. So it's a whole new thing until you stop being a Baal Tshuva. I'm always quoting the Ger Rebbe. So the Ger Rebbe, somebody asked him, like, when do you get to stop being a Baal Tshuva and be just like a regular person? So he said, when you start talking during davening.
That's what the Ger Rebbe.
That's so amok though, because the dibur, in other words, don't worry now, you're misaligned again. you're misaligned again. Your dibur is going for completely the wrong thing. You say enough wrong. I wish I need. I have the shul is moving, so I have a number of boxes, like 200 of them, folded in my car. I need to come inside. I just need a hand. So if anybody has like 5 minutes to help me, I'll bring my car up to the front. Make it up. Yeah.
You bring them